Students, in lesson 6.9, we are going to be working with problem solving and practicing addition and subtraction. Our essential question is, how can the strategy work backward help you to solve a problem with fractions that involves addition and subtraction? So we're going to start with the unlock the problem real world. The Diaz family is cross-country skiing the Big Tree Trails, which have a total length of 4 miles. Yesterday they skied 7/10 mile Oak Trail. Today they skied 3/5 mile Pine Trail. If they plan to ski all of the Big Tree Trails, how many more miles do they have left to ski? And it says use the graphic organizer to help us solve the problem. So let's start off with the first, where it says, what do I need to find the distance? What do I need to do? So we need to say that we need to find the distance they have left to ski. What information do I need to use? I need to use the distance they have already skied and the total distance they plan to ski. How I'll use the information? I can work backward by starting with the total distance and subtract each distance they have already skied to find the amount they have left. And if you see the word boys and girls left, that should prompt you to think about subtraction. So now we're going to solve the problem. It says addition and subtraction are inverse operations. So that means that they undo each other. By working backward and using the same numbers, one operation undoes the other. So we're going to write an equation and then we're going to work backwards. So yesterday they skied 7/10 miles. Today they skied 3/5 miles. And then the miles that they have left to ski, we're going to use a variable to represent that amount. We don't know what it is, but that's what we're trying to figure out. And the total distance, which is 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to work backwards to find that. So now we're working backwards. So we're going to go from the total distance, which is 4, and we're going to subtract the amounts that we know. So the first amount that we know is that they skied 7/10 miles, and then the other amount that we know is they skied 3/5 miles. So boys and girls, right off the back, we know that we can't subtract 7/10 minus 3/5. So what we're going to do is we have to rewrite 3/5. If we rewrite 3/5 as an equivalent fraction, we would get 10/6. So right now we can subtract. So when we think about this, we should really put in 6/10 as our equivalent fraction. So if we have 4/10, we really have 1, 2, 3, 4 minus 7/10 minus 6/10. So 7/10 minus 6/10 would be 1/10 left over. So I'm going to write down 1/10 left over. Okay, boys and girls, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rework through this problem again. When we see 4 minus 7/10, we know that we have to regroup. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the 4 and make it a 3, and then we're going to have 10/10. And now, boys and girls, when we see it like this, it's not that the 4 is not there anymore. We know when we get 10/10, we get 1. 1 plus 3 is equal to 4. But this is what we have to do in order to be able to subtract it. So now when we do 10 minus 7, we get 3 and 3/10. And then we have to subtract 3 and 3/10 from 6/10, which is the equivalent fraction for 3/5. But we know we can't do that, boys and girls. So again, we're going to have to rename. 3 is going to become 2. And then we're going to get 10/10 plus 3/10. And then we are going to be able to subtract. So we have 2 and 13/10 minus 6/10. And then we subtract those two, we get 2 and 7/10 left over. So we know that the family has 2 and 7/10 miles left over to ski, and it says explain how you might know your answer is reasonable. So we can say is, I know my answer is reasonable because the unknown distance which was 2 and 7/10 is less than the total distance. If it was more than the total distance, we know that our answer might be a little bit off. So we're going to go on to the next problem where we're going to try another one. So it says, as part of their study of Native American basket weaving, Leah's class is making wicker baskets. Leah starts with a strip of wicker that is 36 inches long. From the strip, she cuts one piece but does not know its length. Then she cuts another piece that is 1.5 inches long. The piece left is 7 3/4 inches long. What is the length of the first piece she cuts in the strip? So we're going to go through and use the same problem-solving process. So it says, what do I need to find? We would say the length of the first strip. Next, what information do I need to use? We're going to say the length of the original strip, and then we're going to say the two lengths given from the original strip. And lastly, it says how I use the information. What we can say is I can work backwards by starting with the total length and subtracting the given lengths to find the unknown. So let's solve the problem. First, we're going to write an equation. So we're going to start off with writing our equation, which is going to be the unknown strip plus the 6.5 strip plus the 7 3/4 strips. And we know that if we add that all up, that's going to give us the original length, which is 36. So now we're going to work backwards. So I'm going to say work backwards to solve for x. And x is the unknown quantity. So we're going to take 36 and we're going to subtract 7 3/6, and we're going to subtract 6.5 to figure out the unknown. So now we're going to use properties actually in this one to help us out. If we analyze from our list here, boys and girls, we know that we can rewrite 36 to be 35 and 4/4. Because remember, 4/4 is 1 whole, and from 2 and 4, we know that the least common denominator is also the LCM, which is 4. So now we are going to group our other fractions that have a denominator of 4. So we have 35 and 4/4 minus 7 3/4 and parentheses minus 2 2/4, because 2 2/4 is equivalent to 6.5. So now we subtract and we get 4 minus 3 is 1/4. And then we have 35 minus 7 is 28. Now we're going to subtract our last. And we know, boys and girls, that we're going to actually have to rename here and regroup because we can't subtract 1 from 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 1 and we're going to have 27 and 4/4, which is just another way to rename 28, plus 1/4. And we know that we're going to have 5/4, 27 and 5/4. Now we can subtract our 2/4. So we subtract 5 minus 4 and we get 3/4. And we have 27 minus 6 and we get 21. So we know that the length of the first original piece, boys and girls, was 21 and 3/4 inches. So it's really nice because the problem solving that we're doing is teaching us how to use, in this case, associative property to group things in terms that have the like denominators and solve with mental math. And then lastly, we're going to practice renaming, which we did in some of the previous lessons in this unit, to really round off this chapter, which was adding and subtracting fractions.